gotta clear the decks here. Okay, something's wrong. There, I think that'll be good. So today I wanted to talk about happiness because last time I gave a talk about spiritual growth, and I just, in that process, it occurred to me that we're not actually seeking spiritual growth. Spiritual growth is a great idea, but it's what happens to us while we're becoming happier, while we're becoming more joyful, while we're being the truth that we are. Spiritual growth is what happens to us. So spiritual growth is not actually something we're seeking in itself. So I need to hear from you about what other words mean happiness to you?
Joyful.
Joy.
Contentment.
Contentment.
Awareness.
Awareness.
Comfort.
Peace, comfort,
Pleasure.
pleasure.
Music.
What?
Bliss.
Bliss.
Positive vibrations.
What vibrations? Positive vibrations. Yes. All.
Savoring.
Savoring. Yes. All those things. Delight. Fulfillment. All those things are part of happiness. Are an extension of happiness, are the fulfillment of happiness. So the irony of life has not been lost on me. I've been working on this idea of happiness for 6 weeks. And so on Tuesday, Larry and I went to the doctor, and the doctor said, well, I think I want you to go in the hospital. So Larry is in the hospital right now to get some of the fluid off his legs. He's feeling pretty good. But it's got to be hard. It's got to be hard. And I'm visiting him every day, and it gets tiring after a while. It's not so happy. It's harder to be happy. So it just shows us how much life is just a reflection of all the work we need to do. If you're coming up to something, and if you're resisting it, and you're looking at it and you don't like it, like I won't mention it, a vomit on the floor, cats, 6 cats, and anyway. If you're coming to something and resisting it, it's there as part of your process. Take responsibility for your process. It's all process. So some people say, I heard this week, when I get ready for a talk, I start listening. Is anybody talking about happiness? So this one particular person says to me, happiness is overrated. And I thought, oh, well, yeah, that's true. Peace is overrated. It's love is overrated. But happiness being part of exactly who we are, it's never overrated. Because the last place we look for happiness is inside ourselves, right? We're looking for it everywhere. We find it, but it's fleeting. And so it's an ephemeral quality that if we don't find it in ourselves, if we don't even look for it in ourselves, then it becomes much harder to know that is truly part of our identity as we live life. So A Course in Miracles, a line from the Course in Miracles, "Be happy, for your only function here is happiness." I like that. In Buddhism, there is no path to happiness. Happiness is the path. Once again, we're not looking for spiritual growth. It's something that happens to us while we are just living life and understanding what we see as part of ourselves. So, happiness, how do we do that? There are some ways that we can be more open to happiness as part of the world, because since the world is a reflection of what's inside of us, we will find happiness in the world, and it's there for our receiving. It's there for our learning, and it's there just because it's there, because we are happiness, and we are sharing it with each other. So, but there are ways that we can work on it a little bit. We can understand it a little better. We can find ways that we may not have thought of before. So there's a guy named Rupert Spira. If you look on YouTube, I've been listening to him this week, and I've been listening to other people. He's a spiritual teacher from Great Britain, and he says, number one, in happiness, in becoming more happy, is letting go of the past. The past is gone and cannot hurt us in any way unless we find ourselves remembering difficult experiences from the past and becoming once again, emotionally involved in those particular dramas that came out of our past. And for many of us, it was when we were children, of course. For many of us. But what I find for myself, that if I just take a moment and become present, that's the only place we should be at any given time. The difficulties of the past will not seem so difficult, because as we rest in the present, there is no past and there is no future. There is only what's right, what's true, who I am right now. And of course, who we are right now is our divine selves, our angel selves, our purest selves. We are in the present moment. So now is where we are. So let's go back to letting go. Because as we're resting in the moment, it's only another breath, we're gone someplace else. We're gone to the past. We're gone to the future. We're worried about something. We're worried about something that happened in the past, and we're worried about what could happen in the future. So we have to let go of who we think we should be in the moment. We have to let go in order to be happy. We don't have to do any of these things, but I might suggest. And the reason I talk about these things is because I'm teaching myself, number one. I may be reminding you, I may not be reminding you of anything, but I do this because I'm learning. And it's exciting to learn new ideas and old ideas that I need to refresh. We let go of how we think people should be, how we think anything should be different. And that's a hard one. But being at the hospital is a good practice. I tell you, it's very good practice. Letting go of what we should be doing right now. Oh, I should be doing something different. I shouldn't be playing solitaire on my computer because it's a waste of time. I shouldn't be watching television. I shouldn't be watching the impeachment thingamajig that's happening. However, at any given time, when we rush out of the present, if we could just say to ourselves, if we could just remember that we can ruin our lives, or we can make our lives much better in any given moment, at any given time, we have that power. So every day I receive a message from Deep Spring Center, and one of them says, "Do release all strong views and opinions. These are thoughts that come from fear." So if we could notice the thoughts that we have that come from fear, how we think people should be in order for us to be happy is a thought from fear. And as we find ourselves remembering difficulties from the past and even reliving them in our closed heart sort of way, it's about not being present whatsoever. So, let's see, there was an idea that I had. Okay, I can find it. As we are thinking, okay, where did I write this down? I wrote this down on one of these pages. Service to others is a way to be happy. Making each other happy is it's the funnest thing I do. Making other people happy, and I really didn't notice it until this year. I mean, it's been a long time. Becoming happy is a great quest, but service is really a big deal. So what we do with service, or at least what I used to do with the idea of serving another, was what is, okay, this is my chance to do a quid pro quo. I couldn't resist. But that's exactly what happens. We say, what can this person do for me? If I do something for this person, what can this person do for me? And I've spent most of my life doing that. And it doesn't work because you're not in any place to receive the love, receive the happiness, to receive if you're looking for something in return. So it's really been my learning and my changing and my growing in this community that has gotten me out of that idea that I need something if I give something. So service is a very powerful way to be in the world. It's a very powerful way to to become happy, to create happiness for yourself, because as you are giving to another person, of course you are receiving. And it is in the service itself that you receive. So, practice your attitude of happiness. Practice your attitude of humor everywhere, at all times. And what happens is, as you practice that, you are receiving that. What you're giving out in your energies, what you're giving out is what you're getting back. And that's very important. The Untethered Soul, Maurice told me about this book some years ago. Michael Singer is also on YouTube, a spiritual teacher. I don't really know much about him except this book. But I'd like to read from page 144. The key to staying happy is really very simple. Begin by understanding your inner energies. If you look inside, you will see that when you're happy, your heart feels open and the energy rushes up inside of you. When you aren't happy, your heart feels closed and no energy comes up inside. So to stay happy, just don't close your heart. No matter what happens, even his example is interesting. Just don't close your heart, no matter what happens. Even if your wife leaves you or your husband dies, you don't close. And that's no matter, one thing I've been working on since the election in 2016 is accepting what is and accepting the unacceptable. And as we do that, we change, we open, we become more of what we truly are meant to be. We become more open, we become deeper. We become deeper as individuals, we become deeper in our groups, we become deeper. I don't know how to quite express that. We become more divine and stronger and more resilient. We are beings of light. We are eternal beings. And that's something that never changes. Our lives change, we grow, we expand, but the divine being in us never changes. And the divine being inside of us is ever growing, ever becoming, ever expanding. So I'm thinking there's a place beyond happiness, but I haven't been able to go very far with that thought. And maybe you can fill in. Maybe you can fill in some mystical thoughts after I get finished. That there's a place that where we are no longer looking for that which we are not, but we are resting in exactly what we are. And as we rest there, we become all we can be, and we become an example for others who may not see themselves as fully whole and fully complete. And in fact, I have this image sometimes when I go to bed of, you know, how you at night you're ready to go to bed and you hunker down in your warm bed. You have to warm it up with your body because it's cold maybe, but I try to think of myself as hunkering down in the arms of God, because this is who we are, and this is where we are. There are some who say we're enlightened already, and we just forgot. So my quest, of course, is to remember as frequently as possible. And I don't know what it's like to remember all the time. But sometimes I will listen to someone on YouTube or do some reading, and I think there are some people who are, in fact, home with God, because that's where we belong. And we thought, like Eric said, I think, we have this illusion of separation. And we have this illusion that we're not home in the arms of God already, when in truth we are already home. So our quest is to recognize that, to remember that, to rest in that knowing. So when I have a tendency to forget who I am and what I'm doing, it's always helpful to have these affirmations. I only have one here, but we have a collection now from Janet and Ray. In this new year, I'm opening and welcoming to the new and the bright. I breathe in the feeling of full potential in each moment. I choose to fill these moments with regular and consistent thoughts of happiness. So now it's your turn.